Serious question though, do I look like Cindy Lou Who? Hey guys, it's Sarah from Just My Typewriter, and if you don't know, I collect Barbie typewriters. And as you can see on my table, something very exciting just happened. So I collect lots of typewriters, but I specifically collect Barbie typewriters. It's kind of my thing, if you haven't noticed. A few years ago, I was reading some internet forums on weird typewriters out there in the universe, and I ran across a few listings that talked about the Barbie electric typewriter. Now, what makes the Barbie electric typewriter interesting is that they actually licensed the design for the Mattel Barbie typewriter from a Slovenian company called Mahano. Now, Mahano made toy electric typewriters as well, and they included a coding and decoding function in their models for electric typewriters, so that kids could code messages, send them to their friends, and then decode them. When Barbie licensed this design from Mahano, they actually excluded the coding and decoding functions from the manuals on the electric typewriters because they didn't think little girls would want to learn how to code. Big mistake, because a lot of people would get their typewriters and then think they were broken because they were typing in gibberish. It just didn't make sense, so they would throw them away. After a few years, Barbie actually started to include the coding and decoding function in their instruction manuals, but the Barbie typewriter kind of lost its charm, especially here in America. So a few years ago, I made that first video going into a little bit of the history of the Barbie typewriter. Then I spent a year looking for my first Barbie electric typewriter, and I had a typewriter fairy godmother in my friend Emma from Lychee Pink Planner, who found me my first Barbie typewriter on eBay. She actually purchased this machine, had it shipped to her in England, and then shipped it to me for a much lower cost here in the United States. And I was so thrilled to have my first Barbie typewriter. Then, because we were both kind of hooked on looking for Barbie typewriters, she actually found a posting for a Facebook Marketplace posting of another Barbie electric typewriter in her area. She bought that one and sent it to me as well. And then I had two Barbie electric toy typewriters. And I made this video about the Barbie electric typewriter and getting my first machines. As an avid collector and kind of enthusiast in this very small niche of the typewriter market, one thing I do when I'm out there looking for typewriters is I keep search checks on a few different sites to give me an alert every time somebody posts a Barbie typewriter for sale. So I have one on Facebook Marketplace, I have one on OfferUp, and I have one on eBay. So every time somebody posts Barbie typewriter or Mahano toy typewriter, I get an alert from eBay sent to my email so I can go check out that posting. And I check them all the time. There's always new Barbie typewriters that are getting listed in other countries. I've never seen one here in the US on eBay, but I know some people have found them in yard sales or estate sales, and I'm so jealous of those people. But every time I see one on eBay, I usually take a screen grab of it and post it to my Instagram just to let people know there's a Barbie typewriter on the market, and also just because I get really excited about them and I want to share this information with everyone. I found a manual Barbie typewriter listed for sale in England, and it was this one over here. The price was okay, but the shipping costs, again, just because it was shipping internationally, was so expensive, and I couldn't bring myself to buy it, even though I really wanted it. I wanted a manual Barbie typewriter to add to my electric Barbie typewriters. When I posted that on my Instagram story at just.my.typewriter, I got a message from one of my followers and friends, Justin, who lives in the UK, and said, "Hey, I can have that shipped to my house and ship it to you for much less." And I was really excited. And that's how I got my Barbie manual typewriter. So here's a little footage of the day that I got my Barbie manual typewriter sent to me by Justin.
Well, something must have happened while in transit because the box is a little roughed up. Let's see what's inside. All right, let's see if I can open this one-handed. Oh, do you see pink? I see pink. Oh my God! Oh, she's beautiful. So fancy. There's a couple little pink plastic pieces. They look like they fall off. And that looks like it happened in transit, just because if they had fallen off before, I don't know why they'd be in the box. So I've got 3 of those. Maybe I can find where they belong and put them back. So you can also see it's a little dirty, right? Like there's some discoloration here. It's a little dirty in these areas. This is probably where that plastic broke off. Looks a little dirty in there too. Just could use some light cleaning, which I'm not afraid of because I'm so excited to have one that's manual. It looks like there's another place where the plastic fell off. So I'm glad I found those pieces because I think I can just super glue those back in and fix that. So I have all the pieces that fell off. I just have to find out where they go. This is interesting how the shift lock mechanism works. So you press down on the lock, and obviously it engages the shift to go up. But to unlock it, you pull out on this guy instead of hitting shift. So it's locked. I hit shift, nothing happens. I unlock it by pressing on this side of the shift lock. One thing I love doing is looking at platens to see if there's any leftover info on them. So sometimes people will accidentally type in white over top of the platen, and sometimes if they've hit hard enough and they're not using a backing sheet, you can actually see imprints in the platen. So here this says yours, which I think is kind of cool, and if you scroll down, you can see the word happy here. So someone was typing the word happy on the typewriter. You can see here a lot of imprints on one side, like they weren't using paper. And you could just see like the leftover messages that somebody had on here before it got to me. A little bit of cleaning I have to do here around the keys. But I think I'll do that with simple green instead of mineral spirits just because this is all plastic rather than metal, including the keys here. These are all plastic key tops, if you can see those. So I think I'll be cleaning that with a simple green cleaner rather than mineral spirits.
Now, obviously, this typewriter needed a little bit of TLC, but it really wasn't in that bad of condition, especially because it was older than the two Barbie electric typewriters in my collection. This one from over here is about 2004. This one over here is from about 2006. This manual typewriter, which is a different mechanism, still licensed from Mahano, is probably from either the late 1990s or the very early 2000s. So I took a little bit of simple green and cleaned up the internal mechanisms of the Barbie typewriter, and I glued in some of those plastic pieces. It was really easy to find where they came off, so I just used a little bit of super glue and patched them back in place. And voila, I had a working Barbie manual typewriter to add to my Barbie frenzy. One thing that's really difficult on Barbie typewriters is finding ribbon replacements. Now, they come in cartridges, so it's like this little plastic piece that has a bunch of cellophane ribbon tied up in a loop all shoved into a little mechanism that cycles through on both the electrics and on the manual. Now, these are different cartridges between the two machines, but I found it really difficult to find okay replacements for them. First of all, it's a cellophane material, so it's kind of like if you had an IBM Selectric ribbon cartridge, but they're really thin. They're not typing in two colors, it's just a really thin piece of inked up cellophane. And the cartridges themselves are really difficult to find. I had an okay one on this 2006 machine, but the one I had on this 2004 machine was pretty shot. And it makes sense, it was sitting out for a long time. So after my second Barbie typewriter video, I got a message from my friend Lucas over at Typewriter Chicago, and he said, hey, I could try to fix that ribbon for you, which was amazing. So I sent him the ribbon cartridge from my 2004 machine, and he had it for a while, and he did some experiments with it, and he finally came up with a solution to replace the ribbon inside that cartridge. So what he decided to do was take a really thin strip of ribbon, like really tiny ribbon, and he inked it up with typewriter ink, and then he sewed it together into a loop and then shoved it back inside the cartridge and sent it to me. And I put it on my Barbie electric machine to see if it would work. Now, I cannot thank Lucas enough because that was so amazing to be able to get a new ribbon replacement for my Barbie electric typewriter. I was waiting for so long for the right thing to come along, and I'm so excited that now I have working ribbons in both of my electric typewriters and that we kind of know how to fix that problem, with a lot of work and the help of a very talented maintenance tech who was not me. When it came to my Barbie manual typewriter, I also needed a new ribbon. The old one was just a little bit old and it wasn't typing super dark on the page, so I was trying to figure out a solution to replace the ribbon on that one. Now, I was trying to find a solution before Lucas had actually fixed the electric one. I think he probably could have done the same process for the manual cartridge, but I wanted to try something a little bit different. So in addition to having search alerts for Barbie typewriters, I also have them for typewriter cartridges when it comes to ribbon. I'm just that crazy about it. So I actually got a search alert from a posted somewhere, I can't remember where, for a Mahano replacement typewriter cartridge for one of their models. I went and looked at it and I was like, oh, that would be perfect. I bet that will fit in the manual machine. Now, it's not exactly the same model as my Barbie manual typewriter, and it's for a Mahano machine, but maybe that'll work. So I went to buy that one, and then immediately after hitting buy it now and looking at paying about $50 for this ribbon replacement, I realized somebody in Italy had posted 4 ribbon replacements for a much cheaper cost and cheaper shipping. So I declined the offer or canceled the order on the $50 one, and then went to the Italian seller to buy one of their ribbon cartridge replacements. That cost me about $25, $30 to get shipped here to the US, and it took a little while. I got the ribbon cartridge, and it was not exactly the same model as the model I have here on the manual typewriter. This is a C193 manual Barbie typewriter, and I went to go put in the ribbon cartridge, and here's what happened. So what I found was that this Mahano typewriter ribbon replacement is actually for a different model of Mahano typewriter. I can't tell if it says on here which one it actually is for. I have no idea. But I tried to put this exact cartridge into the Barbie typewriter and it didn't fit. It was just a little bit wider here at the base on the one side of the typewriter. So I did the logical next step and tore it open. On the inside, once I opened it up, it just looked like a bunch of like cellophane shoved into the main cavity, and it was like linked together, so it was just a constant loop and looping through the machine. So I very carefully removed the old ribbon from the Barbie cartridge and transferred the new ribbon from the Mahano cartridge into the Barbie cartridge. And then I fiddled around with it for a little while. And voila, it worked. So now I have a brand new ribbon in my Barbie manual typewriter and working ribbons in both my electric typewriters. So I solved the ribbon conundrum. It just took me, an extra year on top of taking a year to get my first Barbie electric typewriter. So in addition to having search alerts out for Barbie typewriters and Barbie ribbon replacements, I also like to do a little bit of research into the machines that I get to find old advertisements or old reviews of those machines, or figure out some famous people who may have had those machines when they were using that typewriter. And I ran into this really strange article on Barbie typewriters from the Belfast Telegraph. Now, they were actually doing an investigation in 2013 in this blackmailing case, where these 4 guys were blackmailing someone for £15,000, and when they went to do a raid of the house, they found a Barbie electric typewriter. It turns out those criminals were actually using the Barbie electric typewriter to type out their blackmail demand letters, which I think is hilarious. Can you imagine these 4 burly criminals using a very pink electric Barbie typewriter to type out their blackmail demands? I think it's hilarious. You can't make this stuff up. I just cannot imagine a more insane headline for an article on the Barbie electric typewriter. So that's a little bit about the Barbie typewriters in my collection. I am always looking for new, weird, and interesting typewriters to add to my collection. What I really like about typewriters is that the community is so supportive. Every single one of these typewriters was sent to me by somebody who I got to interact with on Instagram, who just saw that I was passionate about these machines, found them, and sent them to me, which I think is so amazing. And I've been really lucky to find people out there who are willing to help me continue to find Barbie typewriters and help me get ribbon replacements for Barbie typewriters and continue to fuel this very strange pink and glittery passion of mine. So I have the 2 E117 models, which are both the electric toy typewriters that have that encoding and decoding function, but it's really cool to see where the Barbie typewriters started and have this C193 manual model of Barbie typewriters to add to the lineup. If you want to learn more about the Barbie typewriter, I'm going to link some info down below, including my old Barbie videos, that link to the Belfast article, because I just can't get over the visual of somebody using a Barbie electric typewriter to type out a demand. I'm also going to link down below Lucas from Typewriter Chicago. I gotta stop doing that. I'm also going to link down below Lucas from Typewriter Chicago, who helped me come up with a ribbon replacement for this machine. And a big thank you to Justin and Emma, who sent me my Barbie typewriters. I love them so much. If you're interested in more typewriter content, I also have some more videos on this YouTube channel, and I have an Instagram at just.my.typewriter. I want to thank you all so much for watching and remind you that you're just my type writer. What I think is really interesting is I wasn't even really into Barbies as a little girl. Like, obviously I had some, and I do remember watching Barbie Swan Lake on repeat for several years. I think that and The Little Mermaid were the only thing my sister and I wanted to watch, but it's not like I was really into Barbies and lots of pink. I was way more into like animals and playing vet, and I had a bunch of Littlest Pet Shop animals and stuffed animals and a vet kit that I had that I would operate on the stuffed animals. So I don't really know how I got here, but here I am.